Yep, 46. Where is my? It's out there. Yes, ma'am.
Do I need to mash my?
Ready?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the Russell County Board of Supervisors, June the 29th, 2022, at 6 p.m. at the Russell County Government Center. I'd like to first start off with call to order and roll call. Tim Lovelace.
Here.
Carl Ray.
Here.
David Eaton.
Here.
Steve Breeding.
Here.
Rebecca Dye.
Here.
Horace Christian.
Present.
Lou Ann Wallace.
Here.
Ma'am, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. At this time, I'll ask for the invocation. Please rise and remain standing for the pledge.
Father God, Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we praise you today, Father. Father, we ask that you be with us during this time, Father. Bless us, Father. Be with us. Lead us, guide us, and direct us to make decisions based on your needs, Father. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'm going to ask for the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
I have a motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Got a second. Any discussions or any additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing for the Russell County Board of Supervisors for our budget meeting. If anyone is here to speak on the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the hearing of for the public notice for the budget. You ready, Mr. Lester?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. Again, this is June the 29th, 2022. We are one day before the Code of Virginia says that we must approve the budget. This is our third public hearing. We've had multiple inputs, and opportunities to be able to work on the budget, but one of the issues that we have been dealing with here, as of course everyone knows, we've been waiting on the state of Virginia to provide the overall final budget. So as these came down, the governor signed off on the budget last week and submitted what numbers that we needed for the federal and state requirements and also our locality. As, again, Russell County, to start back at the beginning, to give a summary, our budget had to deal with, one, giving all county employees a 5% raise, which is in here. Two, raising the VRS 2% overall on a continuous base. Number three, we also had to ensure that our budgets picked up the $11 and $12 minimum wage for all of our employees. And number four is, and it is always, like I said before, it's one of the hidden gems, we have maintained our health care program without any additional cost, and we're at the 80-20 program. During these times, again, as we have discussed in previous meetings, if it wasn't for the rate of inflation, the outlandish costs that we're dealing with, but the biggest thing that the Board of Supervisors has done during this time, with all these increases in cost, is there was no tax increase. And that is an amazing financial feat in itself. So what that means is that Russell County lives within its means on what we collect. We find ways to make it work more efficiently, more costly, and still provide the same level of services. So what I would like to do is introduce, as y'all have before you, is the approval for the general fund of $27,160,603 on the resolution and the appropriations of, that includes all Constitution officers, all schools, level funding to all state agencies, schools, and whatever raises that was put into the budget based off the, not us, but the state of Virginia. So, as you can see on the final, again, the final budget, which includes, I'll just give me through this, which includes all the state and federal agencies and federal grants of a total of $34 million. Let me get this up here, so I apologize. $34,483,063. That includes all local funding, that includes all federal funding, all school, Constitution officers, and all nonprofits, every support state, all comprehensive of $34,483,063. I need a motion and approval for this budget. Is there any questions?
You're asking for approval of the resolution.
Yes, sir.
I've got some issues with the resolution.
Okay?
as I always do. One issue is the $2 million that was taken last year. I'm sorry. One issue is the $2 million that the school took and deposited in the insurance fund. That was county money.
Well,
You told me last month that they couldn't put federal money or state money in the insurance fund.
you're talking about the previous 2 million that was, first of all, let's go, both of y'all on the healthcare meeting, I mean, the healthcare board. We, 4 years ago, we went into, we had to liquidate an investment. Yeah, with 1.5 million. And part of that component of that, which was made up of healthcare credits, employee premiums, and school funding. Now, what they did, that when we went into the $1.5 million deficit, we had to liquidate the CD that was, at that time, before this board even existed, was in the school board's restricted funding for health insurance. And we've discussed this with the auditors. So what they're saying is, it being based in a hybrid, which they could not define what portion was healthcare credits or pharmaceutical credits, what part was healthcare premiums or employee premiums, and what part was school. So therefore, not knowing a definitive amount, it is restricted. So what in their mind is, when we liquidated, when the healthcare account got back stable with a surplus, they took that money and put the $1.5 million back.
1.5.
Yes,
I thought they put 2 million.
they did. We put $500,000 ourselves into it. We did, as a county.
When
But that was
when we
before.
approved doing that?
You didn't approve it. That was just part of the movement of the healthcare. The treasurer of Russell County, if we're sitting on the excess money, she has the authority to be able to invest that money. So it's not really the part of the 2 million investment, but it is in an investment.
You're talking about excess money in the insurance account.
$500,000. It's not in the insurance account, it's in a CD.
It's in a CD now, $2 million CD.
But $500,000.
Prior to that, it wasn't though.
Right, but $500,000 of it, and the treasurer will be able to explain it to you, $500,000 is what we have invested, not into the restricted health care. Under the Code of Virginia, the Board of Supervisors, if it hadn't have been for these multiple fundings, like the healthcare credits, then the premiums, it would have been at your disposal to be able to utilize it for anything that you needed and seen fit for the services within Russell County. But when they moved that out and liquidated it to pay for the deficit and pay for the claims during that period, they moved the money back with the same, put the money back into the original CD. So they liquidated a restricted account that was for health care to save us, and then moved the money back again to save us.
Sounds like a lot of shuffling around to me, and you'll never convince me that they can't tell you how much all those healthcare credits and all that was.
I did ask.
I know
asked.
you asked, but
Yes.
they can find it if they want.
I did ask.
Well, I'm just, it's always like this. We allocate the money and then they do whatever they want to with it. And we've gotten money back almost every year except last year. And
Yes.
We did get money back every year except last year.
except last year, and that's because I told Dr. Brown, I think, that you always give us money back.
Right. And Katie would tell you, we've looked at this every year. Once you turn up, you allocate and appropriate the legal terminology for it to the school board, then it is there to use at their will. I mean,
So the only solution is to allocate and not appropriate on a monthly basis.
that's at the discretion of the Board of
Yeah,
Supervisors.
which is what I would prefer. At least we'll know how that money is being spent along the line,
Good business.
That's at the total discretion of the Board of Supervisors.
I remember the first year that we talked about doing that, and they said, well, we can't do that. Said, we'll look like idiots coming back over here asking for money every month. Am I not right, David?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so,
But it puts the county, us as a board, into a real situation because really it is one pot of money. And we were really fortunate to have a good relationship with them, and they were able to give us that money back each year to help us to balance the budget, have that excess. But we had a good working relationship to do the project development and work that we did on the schools and the roofs and all that stuff. But I just wanted them to understand, you know, it is one pot of money. And it really restricts us to be able to balance our budget when that money should have came back to us. And then if they needed it, they know that we were gonna not let anything go under, that we were gonna put it back. But it puts us in a real predicament on how you balance the budget when you don't get those reserves back into the county.
it's just they've commingled all that money, and they say now we can't tell how much was left over and how much was in that restricted fund.
And see, that was one of the things, and I did go out, the auditors have been here all week, and I do have a, you know, I asked that set question specifically. And one of the things that ties it back is there's no defined amount for each, so therefore you're only estimating what would be in healthcare credits on the pharmaceuticals, which y'all know we get them back. What part was the employees' premiums that was in, or the credits, and then what was school funds. There's three intermingled types of funds in this one.
I heard you say something last month that said you needed to keep 7.1 million in it to,
If you look on our budget, yes. And what we're required to do, and this is what the broker, we have to keep a year of claims on hand in the reserve, which right now, based off the budget, is about 7.1 million, 6.8 to 7.1 million. It
we've never
fluctuates.
done that before, have we?
No, well, we have not.
Was this a new regulation that we're
That-
required to do, or what? Because
Who's
we
made
got
up that
down to
rule?
$219,000 back in November of 17. I mean, we were scraping the bottom of the barrel, you know.
During the,
We were out of network too.
yes, and one of the things that the brokers, you know, which is MCA, when we sat down at the healthcare meeting, how much do we have to have in?
And I understand at that time we had some big claims was one of the issues, and we've got that stop cap on it now, so.
And see, one of the things you gotta understand about healthcare, if we keep it up at our minimum on claims, it also helps when we go to the third parties to negotiate a better healthcare program. You see what I'm saying? Because they know that we're setting, now if we had like $1 million in the bank, and we're asking for $7 million, you know, a level of services per year, then you can bet your premiums that what we're paying out lowest out, you know, 10 counties, you've seen the reports, the lowest out of 10 counties, we would be paying more.
Which is basically money back in our employees and our teachers' pockets.
Yes, I would love to take the excess, and you know, you both have been in the meeting, and you know, I would love to took the excess to lower the employees' premiums side. You know, I would love to.
Well, I've asked for a plan to work with the school system, even on teachers' wages. We're the lowest in the area. And even like on like you said, on healthcare, if you got $2 million excess, why didn't they do something to help the employees?
Well, but again, when you got 6.8 to 7 in the bank, that's what we got. They say that's a year, you know, of claims, which our numbers do say that. And
We've got 7.8. As of the end of April, we had 7.872 million.
yeah,
Is that an estimated
there- no.
claim that you're gonna have for your,
No, it's just how much money we've accumulated through the deposit.
having that much in our estimated amount of people that would need insurance? Estimated.
7.1, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not an estimate, that's real, 7.1 is on our financials.
But then throughout the year, you have premiums coming in,
That is
which will
correct.
hopefully offset all
That's
that.
correct, and what you gotta remember too, on the healthcare, most of the teachers are on a 10-month pay, so
I
you'll have a
understand that.
fluctuation.
You won't get
know,
it
you
during the
said-
summer.
That is correct.
But still, we've steadily climbed ever since, with that bottom, I've tracked it here for various, we went to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, and all of a sudden,
Well-
in May of last year, we jumped to 10 million.
And one of the things that if we're really successful at this, which, I mean, my gosh, we went from a $1.5 million deficit to a 50-50 program. And I gotta admit this, you said in
I
the
know,
meetings.
I know, it was
It's
hard.
been a difficult. We have the best, and we know what the counties pay on the employee side and the employer side in 10 counties. It's one of the biggest stars you got. Now, one of the things the Board of Supervisors considered, now, if we, you know what the trend is on the claims, y'all hear it in the meetings with the brokers. If we exceed that amount this year, then we're gonna have to do something with that excess money. Once you exceed that range cap of 6.8 to 7.1, then that excess needs to be reviewed. There needs to be something done with it. Either you bring it back into here, or you look at, my suggestion. I'm
Well, you
gonna
don't
throw it
have
out.
the
You
authority to
lower
do-
the
you can't-
employee premiums.
Yeah, but once it goes into that account, you can't bring it out, can you?
Well, once we renegotiate, which we do every year in the spring, we could actually, when we're in that negotiation, ask to have the employees' premium reduced.
Or we could have the money sent back to the county.
Or you could have the money sent back to the county. But you see.
All I'm saying is that whatever excess would have made this budget year tremendously easier if we'd had another $500,000, rather than you having to cut services on the waste authority
It was
to balance the budget,
It was like when we first started, the budget hearings way back when we was in the conference center. I said, I've done this 28 years. This is the hardest budget I've seen and the closest one it is. It's been a leap because it was a perfect storm. You had the 11, the 12, the VRS, the 5% being able to leap through it. The regional jail. And then on top of that, you had the national economy and hyperinflation.
Well, next year may not be any better because you've got another 5% coming.
That's why the treasurer will tell you that we've slept very little in the last week or so, trying to get this to balance.
Well, to me, that's another reason why we need to know how the school's spending their money.
That component, as far as the appropriations and allocations, you can do with any department. That's up to the discretion of the Board of Supervisors.
Any more comments, questions? Ms. Patton, you have anything you'd like to add to any of this?
No, not unless somebody has a question.
Okay.
Any more questions? I love talking numbers.
Well, I may not have a question, but I have a statement. Due to me not, unfortunate, even get to look over this, I feel uneasy approving this, by me not being able to go through and see, what the budget actually contains. I'd have to say, honestly, I'm in the dark, other than what I've heard. And to put my approval on this amount of money, I'm somewhat reluctant.
Okay. Any other? But again, guys, you went through the perfect storm. You weathered it well. I'm serious. You know what it is. I would love to have $500,000, and who knows, we won't. Hopefully, the casino will kick in. We have a casino board tomorrow. We will be getting revenue off of that. That's undeterminable so far. Of course, and other projects are opened up, jobs open up. If we can live inside our means right now without raising taxes, then if anything goes down and this cools off, this hyperinflation, it's just a better benefit to us. If we can live and within our means with all of this perfect storm financially, then we'll be more stable. And that was one of the auditors that just stated this morning. He said Russell County is one of the most financial sound because you live within your means. He says, I've got a lot of counties that are right now trying to balance the books. Y'all have done it without raising taxes. He said, I've got other ones of what we call, and you know, what we call a revenue anticipation note. Now, the previous boards lived on this thing. It was a life feeder, and it is the worst thing you can do for a bond rating that you'll ever touch. You will not be able to go out and get, low interest rates. You will not, your grants are done. The funding agencies will look at you. When you put that revenue anticipation note on those financials, your bond rating automatically drops. And right now, we got a AA bond rating.
Plus
which
you
is
lose
Russell
the
County's
interest that you
never-
pay on that, which is substantial.
Substantial.
Well, how much money did we, when we first took over the garbage and did that, we saved an approximate, 300 some thousand?
About $300,000 to $400,000.
$300,000 to $400,000.
Yes, sir.
And then now we're gonna back up and cut the trash down to one,
Save another 274.
Well, no, and I may apologize for that. When you laid your numbers down on here before, I'm not cutting 270 out of the waste management. My actual savings, and I apologize for that. One of my savings is, and if you'll look on the sheet, on the disposal, and I was going to discuss it next. We have 8 man sites, 3 unmanned sites, which is a total of 11 disposal sites. Now, between the labor, now it costs us $120 a day per site because we have to pay $12 an hour. 10 hours a day, 120 times 8 sites for the year is actually 46,000. I give you 40. So between what we can save on direct labor, on the indirect labor and equipment is the extra running, the extra days with the trucks and the truck drivers and the fuels. So it's a 3-part component.
So you're saying 95,000?
I'm saving 95,000
From the waste?
from the waste.
Where was the other?
The other came in from the state. They contributed more towards the 5% and the rest.
It's kind of misleading.
Well, and I apologize.
I mean, it came out in the paper and kind of give people the impression that we were doing this and this is the kind of money that we were saving. And I'm a little bit really disturbed on that because now we're looking at saving in this regard when we wouldn't even have to look at these options as far as cutting these days if we'd have done the right thing and had a working relationship with the school to do what they should have done.
Well, one of the things that you guys had proposed before when we were talking about the disposal fee, one of the things that y'all had also proposed in conjunction with the disposal fee was a uniform set of hours. Y'all have discussed that no matter what, whether it's operational or not. And when we got to doing it and the cost of fuel went up, we thought this was a perfect opportunity, to sit and do this. And of course, you'll look on what we had proposed, not just from the financial perspective, but if you look back at like Washington County, they have, almost 58,000 people that sits in there. So it almost mirrors the surrounding counties. If we get a standardized set of hours, and if you'll look, like on Monday on what we proposed, which we're wanting to change to Tuesday, because if you're closed on Sunday, you want to open early on Monday. And that's what we have seen. If you're open on Monday, open later on Tuesday, because you'll be off Wednesday, and then open back early on Thursday, back again later on Friday before the working, and then early on Saturday when everybody's home and wanting to clean out their garage. So we're trying to mirror what our workloads are and our trash attendance high capacity is during those hours. So,
In the budget that we got last meeting, we were down $190,000. That's what we needed. And you proposed 274 to, make up the difference.
well, now Brian, that's the total cost that it was to run it. The 274, 167, 16, less the holidays is what it costs to run this schedule above for the full year.
But but you still had $274,000 in overall savings. Is that what you're saying? I've got my numbers all messed up
Oh,
now.
I apologize. No, hang on a second, let me bring it up. Okay, the numbers, you can see the location right here. If you look at our monthly costs, at the columns that are through here, these are the total hours that is proposed in this schedule. On a monthly basis, less the holidays, this is the hourly rates, which is, again, $12 an hour, with the FICA group life and the other associated costs. It costs us monthly to run this schedule above you, $23,985.56 a month. Now, on less the holidays, if we start taking those out, which we do, which I'm more conservative than Brian. It'd been a bigger savings, but I was wanting to push the numbers down because we got more supports from the state. I didn't need the full 190, I needed 95. So even though if I calculate out, Steve, if I sit there and say, okay, I've got 8 sites, $12 an hour, $120 a day, 4 of them, and take those 8 times the 4 times 12, it's $46,000. I'm only counting 40 because I know there's going to be fluctuation. Same way with the operating costs, and same way with the tonnage.
All I'm doing is looking at the numbers that we had last time.
I'll agree.
$190,000.
It was what it
And,
was.
and the 274,
Mm-hmm.
what, that was presented, I thought, as the savings on the waste authority, but
It's,
on the waste department, but you're saying only $95,000 is really what we saved.
that it is correct. If you looked at the
So that
previous
took it down
sheet,
to $100,000.
yeah, give or take, and that's what we got from the state in more support that we
So
were,
the state gave us, that's where the additional money is coming from, the
Yes.
state.
yes, we got
In what? In
sales
what
tax.
form?
If you look at your sales tax.
Sales tax?
Sales tax went up. That was
Well,
another
see,
50.
I don't know what went up. Is this new budget you gave us, does that represent?
Yes, yes,
Has
sir.
the,
It does. Because
Okay.
remember, we got our last, as I mentioned in the email, we got our last state numbers, even though he ceremonially approved the budget last Friday, we got the last final numbers yesterday morning through the treasurer's office. So we were adding them as they came in. And it don't all come in at once. One department comes in, our department, taxation, utility tax, communication taxes. It all comes down through multiple streams. So what the net effect was, which even, I'm more conservative again, I only wanted to, by the time we got through, I was only willing to ask for a $95,000 savings out of the disposal. But again, back to the disposal fee, what was proposed, we wanted to standardize hours so everybody could go, if they went to Honaker, they went to Lebanon, or if they went down to Mew Road, it's all the same. It's all the same. And then it also matches what every other county's doing that's doing man sites too, like Washington County. It's the exact same as Washington County, except for the change that I'm proposing on the Monday, Tuesday.
With the $95,000 savings, are we still gonna come up short?
No, you're not coming up short. No, actually, there's a bigger savings. Yes, that is correct.
Understand that, I just wanted to ask the
See,
question.
we did not have the state numbers when we stood here before. We were still sitting like every other county in the 95 counties in the state of Virginia, trying to estimate what the effect was.
What was that amount that you got from the state? I didn't catch that.
We got multiple numbers from the state. I mean,
Well, you was able to save us 95, but I thought it was because you got money from the state.
when we get it from the state, we get them for the Constitution Office Communication tax, guarantee tax, sales tax. I mean, it's multiple taxes.
So it's not any one given
No,
thing.
that is correct.
Does that reflect here in the budget?
Yes,
This
sir.
budget, the increase that we
Yes.
received?
What I did, and myself and the treasurer sat down yesterday, and we went through, and we made sure that we lived within our means. We live within our means. And like I said,
This is the budget.
it is the budget. But again, guys, you, again, yes, I couldn't I had federal and state funding, which makes up 38% of our budget was totally estimates.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no way that we could figure that one. And that's why I wanted.
The state's final numbers.
That is correct, and that's one of the areas of caution that I told y'all. Don't make a decision on anything final until these numbers come in to see what the net effect was. But that was not the primary reason for wanting to change the convenience sites. The convenience sites is because we're almost at the point of the last man site. And it will be in this budget year. So this is part, see, that's why we were trying to make sure that, hey, and it would also helped us during this hyperinflation fuel period, that we wanted to do that too. So that's why I had set and proposed it to the Board of Supervisors. This is the perfect opportunity. We were trying to cut costs, and we're trying to save more money, but if we're eventually going to go to a standardized man hours, perfect time when the fuel is running $7 a gallon.
When the contract expires with the Waste Management Authority, what's the estimated percentage of how's that gonna go up?
Well, currently, right now, the waste management, the regional waste management, of course, Mr. Eden knows, that they do not have a CPI index in their contract. Now, what?
Oh, I was one
And
who
it's go-
negotiated it.
And one of the things that's gonna happen, of course, is theirs, and they're eating it right now. Actually, I hope that they're not listening. They're actually probably going in the hole right now, hauling their trash. With
The
man.
transport,
You know what I'm saying?
they wanted to charge us a fuel surplus, and
they wanted to get
I
it.
said, no, we can't do that if you want the haul, but I knew the contract's getting ready to expire, but then, we gotta start looking toward the future here, what if. I mean, we know we have all these entities that work within the range of our county operation, and that's gonna be huge impacts for us. And, it could be huge negative impacts, catch you in the middle of a stream here in a year that you'd be in trouble knowing what the contract stipulations are, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
I mean, we could pass this budget and I don't know what's laying out there, but in a midterm year, if that budget expired and they had to renegotiate, and then we got inflated cost of $200,000 or $300,000 more in expense, that's gonna eat you.
And you gotta do trash. It's the third biggest cost in the county. It is, and it's just the way it is. It's every county. It's not just this county, it's every county.
That's the reason I'm saying that we gotta get some of these higher entities that we appropriate funds for under control. That way, all the money to me is one money. It's one money that's appropriated. It should be fluted back into the county operation so we can have a handle on it and not just give it out there and then, I want a working relationship. I don't wanna say, I'm not sitting here acting like I'm being against anybody. I'm looking at the future here of the county and what we need to do for the taxpayers and citizens.
Well, one of the things that this board has also done, and the school board will be the first one to acknowledge it, and if you look on your budgets that are before you, we have level funded the schools for 5 consecutive years. They have, right now, by law, but what the state appropriates, which is in the resolution, which is in their numbers, we have what we call the required local effort. That is the operations that we have to give, plus what they have on the debt load, which we watch the debt load. You guys, there is very minimum above that. Y'all have moved down over $3 million out because they've had to pick up all the raises and all the incurred costs down this. And I'm not here speaking for the school. I'm just telling you what has transpired.
But before last year, they always gave us money back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows that, they had over budgeted, several years, 6 or 7 years back,
Well, and again, that takes a long time to filter out, and that was before this board, set in, so. But that's at the discretion of the board.
Maybe we're down to a real budget, but there's so much federal and state money out there for the schools now that
And
they don't miss our money as much.
but see, the thing about that is on the federal and state, you have no authority over that one. Yeah. And there's a ton of it out there right now, and all the schools are getting it. Now, you said federal and state, which you know, the state, the current governor, I mean, he, RSOs are paid for. I mean, they are absolutely pumping money into education.
How much over the required minimum are we,
How much,
dollar-wise?
by our required local effort between the operations and the debt load, you might be 80,000 max. That's max. But the rest of what they get.
That's another man's site.
But what you, but what you see in their numbers is enormous amount of federal and state funding. And that's what the parents wanted. They pushed this money, and that's what they brung Youngkin in to do, was to fix the education. And that's what he's done. He's pumping money into it to get it at that point.
Still didn't fix the disparity problem, though.
No, it
Because
don't fit.
5% of Washington County is a lot higher than 5% of Russell County. So the gap just keeps getting wider and wider.
And it does. And see, one of the good things about it, and one of the things that the board has got to understand is, when Youngkin put this one in, now we're standing before you today, he put in a 2-year budget. Now, on the Constitution officers in the schools, what he is paying for, if you had to pay for it, we wouldn't be even having this discussion. My point is this: that 5% raise with the Constitution officers, that 5% raise on the school board, which is about $1.2 million per year, he picked it up out of the localities. He did not push down to the localities. If
But
we
it-
had to pick that up on our side to be able to get a 5% raise across and pick up their share and our share and the Constitution share,
But it's still not gonna fix the real problem that we're gonna have, and
No.
it's gonna get worse and worse and worse if we don't, the retention, and we got great teachers, great people that work in our system, but somehow, some way, we're gonna have to try to get down to where we can address that issue, or we'll never catch up. I mean, we're having them, as far as what I've heard, we're having a lot of people leave because they can make a lot more money driving 30 minutes across the hill. So I'm concerned about it. I really am. I mean, I'm just worried about it, and it's nothing. I know we didn't create the problem. We can sit here and talk all night. I know we're not the ones that created the issue. This board did not. They didn't create it. But somewhere down the road, we're gonna have to address it. It's gonna have to somewhere figure out a way to fix it. If not, you're not gonna have enough to, I mean, these young kids that's coming into and taking these and getting these degrees, why, if you can make $10,000 more in a year, why, they're not gonna, I mean, they might love it here and wanna live here, but money,
it's gonna be hard.
they'll live here and work somewhere
Well,
else.
see, and
And I'm
that's-
worried about it.
Tassel or Washington.
And see, that's like one of the comments that we heard, and we heard it during the healthcare meeting, you know, and you know, you can go north or you can go south, and I ain't gonna call out which counties it is, y'all can figure that out on your own. You can go take a $5,000, $7,000 pay raise, but these two have seen what they charge on that side, and you'll pay. I mean, you will pay. That $5,000, you just gave it to them. You would put it in driving time.
Their healthcare costs are
Yes,
a lot higher.
you better hope you don't have to pay them premiums, because I'm telling you, it's not even comparable. Not
Well, I
even
always
close.
say we need a regional insurance, and all the counties' school systems going together. The more people you have, the cheaper it is. And I just don't see how we can eventually survive unless we look at something like that in a larger scale.
Well,
We
Steve
talked
knows
about that, but, you know, you can't get,
Get
some
all
of
the
the other
counties.
counties are not gonna buy into it.
And see, some of the other counties don't work like this county does. Now, in the healthcare community, in the insurance, as Steve knows and Tim's both heard, you know, one board controls it or the other board. Here, both the school board and the BOS, you know, they sit and make those decisions. So that it is a joint decision-making. Now, in other counties, it's one board has it or the other board has it. And the other board don't agree with the other board. So, I can't fix the other counties. But it's at the discretion of the Board of Supervisors. Back again to the resolution, I would like to have an approval for $34,483,063, which is a 3.4% increase, and that includes picking up everything and retaining the same level of services in Russell County.
I'll make that motion with the exception that we have the school board allocate their money monthly.
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Further discussion. Anybody?
Is there not some, the schools gave money back last year, didn't they? Because
Well,
because I remember it being discussed, we're trying to earmark it to be used for, like, capital improvements or whatever.
and that's what I was trying to remember when Steve was saying that, because I hate to.
When did we build the technical
I think it
number
was-
2 at Lebanon?
Well, that was.
Is that year before last?
That was a few years ago, but.
Here we go. Let's see. I think it was 187,000 that they gave back, something like that. Hang on, I can tell you the real number. This was just audited this morning, so I know the numbers are good.
That was the year before.
No, this is right now to this year. This is this year.
How much?
That's what I'm gonna find out right here in a second. Hang on just a second. I think it's $187,000. Mm-hmm. Let's see, tourism. 396. And 114. 167, commissioner revenue. Category exclusion, 67. Okay, I'm sorry, 149, 572.08, and these numbers are solid. They were just.
This budget.
Yes, This is right now, as was ran as of today.
Well, I stand corrected on that then.
Yeah, 149, 572.08. Yep. So you transfer to the general fund from the school. Because we have to, when it comes back and forth by the Code of Virginia, when there's reversion funds that come in, and it was, now, you're correct, Ms. Wallace.
And that
it
was
for
about the amount that's over and
Yeah,
above what we
remember when-
had to fund.
And that was during the
And they
COVID,
gave it
remember when
back.
they come before the board for the technical, the equipment and they said they would pay for the rest out of their funding? Yeah. 149, 572.08.
And have you had any indication of money's coming back this year?
I have, but I have not got the amount yet, so there is money coming back this year.
Lonzo, the only question I have in relation to the motion that's on the floor is the
Katie,
code requires that,
We need to use your mic, please.
sorry. I thought I didn't have to push the button anymore, okay. Okay. The code, I just want to make sure that's right. It probably is, but the motion was for to appropriate to the school on a monthly basis. I just want, the code says that the board can do that to make periodic appropriations on the same basis as it makes to other departments and agencies. So I just wanted to make sure that those appropriations are monthly.
Yes.
That's what we do now, right? With the exception of DSS, right?
What the code is saying is, and Katie.
I just wanted to
let's
clarify. I
paraphrase
figured it was
this.
monthly, but it doesn't say on a monthly
And-
basis. It says on the same
and-
basis as other.
And actually, we do it on a monthly basis. We do the schools on a monthly basis, yes.
You do the schools on a monthly basis.
We do not transfer the whole amount to them, no, It is on a monthly basis.
Well,
But-
I'm misled again because
No.
what I understood, if we allocate, it's in the budget.
Yes,
But if-
yes.
Once
it-
you appropriate, you just can't take anything from it back. I mean, once that money's approved.
No, what it is, there's two ways of doing appropriations and allocations. When you appropriate the total amount, say $10 million, And then you can allocate it monthly, quarterly, however you want to do it. But see, here's the thing, right now, what they submit to you on a monthly basis, we automatically pay off the gross amount that you approved in the original budget in a total gross. Does that make sense? What you approved right now, at the beginning, July 1, it is divided among the 12 periods.
So you divide by 12, and that's your target budget.
That is correct. Now, whether they come in expenditure-wise higher or lower, it doesn't matter. The only thing, they're not coming before you like the Board of Supervisors does on a monthly basis. You approve the expenditures for the county on a monthly basis. They're approving the expenditures over there on that side on a monthly basis. But the same level of money, because we would not have the cash flow to pull out $10 million at the beginning of the year and say, okay, here schools, you use it what you want. We divide out the DSS, but the only mechanism you do not have in place is the reporting part back to the Board of Supervisors. But we allocate it on a monthly basis.
And we've discussed that before. You have explained that to us before, that it is a reporting.
It's a reporting. Yeah, I don't have the cash flow. We don't.
I withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw the second.
Thank you. Now, I'll entertain a motion to
And I'll
approve
say this,
budget
that was
as
not
presented.
my understanding of the way it was supposed to be.
Now, that's done through the treasurer's office, so, now, and that's not the Board of
It
Supervisors.
was
that is-
explained by the county administrator.
I know. Now, if you want a different amount, so, when we were having our discussion, it say that we gave them $10 million, or give them 12, we'll make this real easy. $1 million a month. If they come in right now, let's say they come in at 800,000 during the first month. See, that's 200,000 less. Now, but if they come at 1.2 million over the next month, we're just moving on the overall total appropriation of 10 million. Not that the board would have to come, the school board would have to come to the board if they were running over at the 1.2 and say, wait a minute, we're 200 over on this month's appropriations, we need to justify that. But we couldn't but when you sign, you appropriate this budget, you have appropriated it, whether it's sitting in the bank at the treasurer's office or if it's sitting over in the bank there, it's already done by the Code of Virginia.
Understood that.
Yep.
Just the allocation of it, how it's allocated out.
Mm-hmm. Once you give them the money, sign this document here,
I understand that.
It's
I
done.
understand the budget itself. But it's how the money is appropriated. I guess we appropriate the money in the budget and we allocate it each month when each department brings their invoices in.
that is correct. If they're over on 1 month or under on month, then they're only going back off your original.
So the
appropriation.
treasurer always knows.
Yes.
I think the board should start to get a copy of the treasurer's monthly
There's a
report.
but there. Okay. Now, when the treasurer gets it, she does not get what we call a detailed expenditure report. It's a summary report based off of classification and financial codes. They call them object codes. So when she sends it over, if it's 800,000, and when they run it through, it's not a detailed report. Now, the school can give you the detailed report,
Which we've been getting.
which you've been getting. If you look at what we appropriate, like if on the April, but you gotta remember, Mr. Brady, that those reports are always 30 days behind. And that's one of the reasons they give the monthly appropriations, the fluctuation based off the original 10 million, is because when those close out, they're always 30 days behind, and they're moving that money through and processing them during that time.
And Dr. Hooker has said that if there's some way to provide that is more, easier, a quicker read, I guess, that.
I've looked at it
she
1,000 times. There is no,
Yeah, I know.
just the way they have to put their budget together. It's
And you got federal,
convoluted
state.
and part of it's here and part of it's there, but I understand that's the way that the state wants it, So, given that, I'll make a motion, we approve this resolution as presented.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All hearts clear? I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Oh,
Aye.
one moment, please.
Do what?
Okay. Let's try this again. Be quicker on your ayes and noes. All right, let's do a hand count, please. Show of hands. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You've got a budget, Mr. Lester.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll make a statement. I don't think we have any option other than we've got to have a balanced budget by the end of,
By the Code
Tomorrow.
of Virginia, you
Midnight
will
tomorrow,
have a
right.
balanced budget under the Code of Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Breeding, for
Yes.
recognizing that. And I will also say, I'll take the liberty at this time, we have been given this information before, and the categories was very broad, and a lot of things are stuck in those little 4 or 5, help me out, Mr. Lester, categories that we're supposed to be looking at.
Yes.
And so they're in there. And so how you dig them out, I have no idea. It's just a matter of trust, I'm assuming, that we're trusting the auditors and we're trusting the people that put this together.
Well, and just a final note, as far as our funding goes, again, y'all didn't raise taxes, so this was fairly easy, and you didn't do a reassessment, so this was fairly easy to run on the personal property and real estate, so.
I'd also like to make a statement too. I mean, I'm a little concerned because you had a gentleman, Oris Christian, and supervisor at large that never attended a budget meeting. I'm a little disturbed by that, and that, you know, we've been really rushed on this. It's approved. Thank God it's approved, and let's move on, but I'm still concerned about that money and that appropriations, because we wouldn't have had to even look at cutting services.
Well,
Mr. Eaton, I did attend
yeah,
two
he
meetings.
did two meetings, yes, and
that
one of them was 3.5 hours long.
notified of. But if there's any more, I don't know. But the reason I aren't voting in favor of this, I haven't had time to really look at it, and I feel like, consistent of that much money, I don't feel at ease to put approval on something that I haven't got a chance to actually look over all this. I'm sorry,
And-
but I've had other obligations.
And one of the things that, when we went through it, to make it very simplistic, it was level funding, period, level funding, other than what the state changed during that thing. But if y'all want to find out a mechanism, you know, going forward with any department or any branch, you know,
I'd like to see an improvement of communication between the board. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will entertain citizens' comments. So if you have anything you need to talk to us about today, I got 2 folks sitting out there. You want to speak?
I do.
All right. Give us your name, address, and what you're here for.
I am Darrell Johnson from 687 Upper Copper Creek Road. I'm on the board of directors of Castlewood Fire and Rescue. I understand that they have some grant money to buy radios and equipment for the fire and rescue. On Castlewood's behalf, we're going to get radios for the EMS side, but none for the fire side. We're 2 entities in the same building, and I feel like we deserve as many radios as everyone else gets. And, you know, I would ask the board to look at it, and we just want to be treated fairly. Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anybody else? Mr. Sergeant? Okay. All right. At this time, I'm going to adjourn the meeting, so I formally adjourn this meeting. Thank you for coming.